What's up, world? It's Rico here, CEO of Sourcefine Asia, host of the Made in China podcast, and the host of the Sourcefine Asia YouTube channel, of course. Back with another webinar, and this webinar is a first for SFA. It's going to be one of the first webinars that we do that's not 100% sourcing focused, although we will be talking about manufacturing. The focus of the topic is going to be how to pre-launch your product and get hundreds, if not thousands, of sales before you even start manufacturing. So my co-host of this webinar is Luke Francis, and if you're familiar with my Enter-China days, you would have seen me in some videos with him. He basically helps e-commerce businesses gain an audience, validate their product, and get pre-sales through crowdfunding before you start manufacturing your product, which minimizes your risk. So the dates of the webinar will be in the link in the description below and somewhere below me on the screen. And on top of that, I'm going to pass it on to Luke because he's got a special gift for only the people that attend the webinar live. So this is the first webinar that we're doing in 2020. We're trying to do it big. I hope to see you there. Cheers.
Thanks, Rico, for that introduction. I'm super excited to present this webinar to you on the 5 steps to get your customers to pay for your first production order. You don't even have to have inventory, and you don't even have to put a down payment down for the first order. Your customers are going to cover all that for you, and I'm going to show you how to make that happen through strong customer connection, which you can then leverage into a long-lasting and meaningful brand, not just a fly-by-night, get-rich-quick money grab. And if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely sign up. And as a bonus for those that do sign up, I'm going to hand out a free video that lays out the framework and the foundation for building this connection with your customers. And so everybody that signs up, you get that free video, and I'll deliver that to you. So look in your inbox when you sign up, you'll get the email from me and you can watch that video right away. So look forward to seeing you on the webinar.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Rico here, CEO of Sourcefine Asia, host of the Made in China podcast, and the host of the Sourcefine Asia YouTube channel, back with another one. This is supposed to be winter. Like, I'm actually sweating wearing this jacket right now, but I wanted to look good for this interview. We're hanging out at 63 Steak and Burger in Canton Place. You guys have seen me at Mikasa a lot, which is like literally just down the road. And I'm hanging out with Mark, who's been on the podcast a bunch of times, Mark Ramos. He used to be in the shadows, but now I brought him into civilization on these YouTube
keep
streets.
on coercing me in subtle ways, like, hey, let's meet up and let's do a video. Okay.
All right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about our opinions on the biggest e-commerce changes in 2020 from China.
Space, I'll blast through it like a rocket. Let's the beat out. Swoop in, beat it and rock it. Trying to pave my way, take center stage and rock it. Words from a sage, eyes on the road is rough and rocky. Yeah, gone for a while, but I'm back here.
Yeah, so let's talk about 2020. I think for me, I think I've kind of talked about it from a sourcing perspective quite a bit. I would like to know, obviously you're the e-commerce guy, so I want to know from your perspective, what do you think is going to happen in 2020 versus 2019? We just started talking about, like before we started recording, we were talking about the Amazon guys and all this. I feel like maybe the people that would have the biggest shock would be the Amazon sellers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's already been a trend for a few years now that Amazon has been the way to go. I mean, it's definitely still the best channel for somebody who's new or trying to like get into business. But as you grow, the competition now, you know, just like anything, the competition is always the most at the lower levels, and as you step up, you know, it becomes less competitive, which a lot of people can't understand sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that in 2020 and beyond, there's just going to be a lot more saturated with the marketplaces. On the Chinese side, for example, the business owners are getting way more educated. So I think that, and they're so much better in systems building than our U.S. partners and stuff like that I work with, because I realize that that's where the systems in China are more suited for this kind of thing. Like, they know how to scale very quickly versus like how people I work with from the States are. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a big change, and I don't think that most people who are doing it from stateside are going to be able to compete with this level of expansion.
Systemization.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the thing is with China, Chinese people work so hard in comparison to most other cultures, and then the way they've grown up, they've taught their whole life has been systemized, from the education standpoint. And then of course you have this whole factory industry that's been around. So factories are all systemized as well. So it's very natural for them to scale up in different businesses once they actually grasp how the business model works.
Correct.
They're usually very good at picking it up very quickly and systemizing and pushing much further.
Correct.
And then of course they still work 6 days a week, 7 days a week. So there's that other aspect.
Yeah, the only most time they take off is during Chinese New Year, but other than that, they're working all the time, as much as possible, without trying to kill themselves, I guess.
Yeah, I think I was doing an interview a couple of days ago, and the person asked me, so do you take weekends off now? I was like, I don't believe in weekends anymore. Weekends it's not a thing for me. It's not like, oh my God, it's Friday. Yeah, fucking
TGIF.
Saturday. Exactly. I'm like, it's just like Saturday is just another day, man. I might work slightly less because my employees aren't working and because my clients are not working.
Yeah,
but I still go to the office. I still kind of treat the day like a regular.
If there's something to do and somebody's open and they're working, why not do more work if possible, right?
Yeah.
So, correct. But as I was saying, the systems are what's going to be the distinguishing factor. And if someone doesn't have that in their business plan, then while they can make money, we were talking about this earlier. I said Amazon's still a good place to make money, but if you are in the process of trying to grow your business, branding and that kind of transition is where you need to be focusing on now, because Amazon again is just the channel. More of the events, people need to consider their brand if they're actually trying to build something like that, and then focus on the steps they need to grow their business in that way, and learning more about that aspect versus just learning tactics, how to sell on Amazon better, because tactics are tactics, but they eventually will be overrun. And again, I said the Chinese will do it better. This is what happens. There's a tactic that comes out, and then the Chinese side, I'm only referencing the Chinese side because that's the most experience that we have from the people I work with, but I know that they take any kind of system, they learn it, and then they just make it better, because then they know how to scale it to levels that in the beginning I was like, that's not possible. Oh, I guess it is possible.
Do you know any people within your community in e-commerce from China that have had either their businesses completely destroyed or just less revenue, significant changes where Chinese people flooded their product, their market?
I'm in the groups that we're in, for example, almost everybody has some touch of some kind of hijacker, as they're called, or some other company coming in and taking their spot, and they try to protect themselves, but they're still playing in Amazon's playground, so they still gotta play those rules, and it's just becomes part of the process now. It's not something that is being taught so much in all the courses, but that's kind of the main part of the game now. It's okay, you get your product, you find it, you list it, you start making money, and then as soon as you start making money, that's when you start running into these issues, because the tools will start identifying your product as being something that's hot on the market, right? So I still remember the days a few years ago when you can, survive for a few months at least without having any problem. Now it's within a month, you're going to start seeing a competitor show up. The moment you start doing well, someone else is going to come in. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, unless, I guess there's some ways to protect that, you get brand
registry,
and
all that, But,
and registered, sorry.
But even when you do that, I still hear tons of people having issues protecting their brand. You have to prove. It's funny that you still have to prove yourself, and sometimes they might lock your account, and every day that happens, that's money out of your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So it's so this is why we always tell people not to just rely strictly on this one channel. It doesn't have to just be Amazon, whatever they're using, right? So when you have your own brand, then you control everything, and that becomes all in your power, at least.
It's funny how it always goes back to the brand stuff, because even I remember with EC, when we first started doing, when I first started becoming an EC partner, which was 2016, and we had a lot of people come in, and that's the time when Amazon was really at its peak. And so we had a lot of people coming in, wanting to join the Enter China program, but wanting to learn how to sell on Amazon. And that was we were just like I wasn't against it because I understood the benefits, but really the Enter China program was more about building a brand. So I remember Nick Ramil, who just doesn't care about Amazon at all. Like he was so against it. And he was like, just wait. He was like, wait for a couple of years. You're going to see a lot of these guys wanting to now build a brand when they should have just started building a brand from the beginning.
Correct.
But my opinion on that is just basically like it's fine to start off with the OEM situation on Amazon, and then eventually, but you should always have it in the back of your mind that eventually to make this a defensible business, I got to build a brand around this.
Correct. I mean, Nick's a smart guy, so he knew. But at the same time, they still had to cater to this demand because that's what people are asking for.
Well, the thing about Nick is like if you look at his background, all of his stuff was building brands, right? Like the first like the 2 crowdfunding campaigns was all brand stuff, Vincero and Lexel. And of course, when he starts working with Brink, when he became a partner at Brink, all they do is build brands. So it's
Sure.
like he just comes with the mentality.
Yeah,
Like,
and of course he's going to push that, but that's the right way. It's the strong foundational background. So if you build a brand, you're pretty much protected, right? You're going to be protected from any kind of channel. And building your own, I always stress building your own, at least customer database that you can contact directly. That's the ultimate because then you're insulated from basically everything. Even though there's all these hot channels, ManyChat, chat bots, all that, and all the new, every time there's new technology, what's funny is like email is still the cornerstone of most businesses. Building customer lists and database and stuff like that. So
I guess the question I would ask is, I think that a big part of the reason why Amazon is so appealing is just the initial costs of starting up, right? So I think one big question that I get a lot, and I can't really answer it because I don't do the marketing side of things, but from a manufacturing standpoint, you can start a new product relatively inexpensively, like depending on the product that you're working on. I know some guys who, like clients of mine, who started off with ODM products that were less than $10,000, like as in everything from beginning to end of mass production and shipping. But I think people worry about the actual marketing side of things, is when you're building your own brand, creating your own website, the ads and all that stuff. Even coming up with a brand identity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. I didn't say it's easy, right? But now you bring up the point about cost. Like years ago, you could have started with $500 and kind of got something going. That's not possible at all anymore to start on Amazon. I mean, literally, unless you're finding these low-end products. But what's funny is everybody's there, right? Because the lower end the product and price point, that's where everybody's like, oh, I'm going to test out these markets more because it's easier for me in a budget. And I said the way to actually stand out now is actually finding the bigger, more expensive products and things that are a little bit more challenging in some way, like shipping processes or stuff like that. That's the way you can kind of compete easier in the Amazon game. But to be truthful, it's like the easiest way to actually analyze products would be the dropship model, even though a lot of people tell me it's like, oh, that's not real. I was like, what's the difference between what you're talking about on Amazon and dropshipping? I mean, like you said, OEM and, ODM, and I don't, every time I mix up the terminology, but, dropshipping, you understand the process is like just using, these people are using channels like Alibaba, AliExpress, and then just having it shipped by those trading companies directly to the customer. Yeah, it takes time, but what's funny is you can really massage and use your budget and capital to find the actual product that does better first in a lot more cost-effective way. But that's you have to understand how to use the model properly, because so a lot of people get lazy and they just use drop shipping as their total business model, and that's even worse than just doing Amazon now.
Yeah.
You're just totally like relying on this product, and then anything can happen, at that point. And you do want to evolve to the point where you build this product that's more unique and within your brand vision. But but that's the fastest way to test the market, in my opinion. Starting with drop shipping and then transitioning into sourcing it yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
So with the original design aspect, the ODM process, do you think there's a misconception in terms of how expensive it is to then launch the brand after? Forget about the sourcing, but the actual brand identity, the marketing side of things, creating your own e-commerce store. Do you think it's less expensive now than it was before? I'm sure, I know that's the case, but
less expensive.
Well, there's just more tools that you could use to create a website.
There's a lot. I see what you're saying. Starting up from scratch, whatever. Yeah. But like you said, it's probably just the thought of it. Now I hear it out loud. It's like it sounds a lot more challenging, because it's like, Mark, that's not so easy to do. It's like building a brand.
Well, and I would never say that it's easy. And I think I think anybody that's starting a company that thinks it's going to be easy is you're doing.
Some people think
you should retire.
No, I can go to Amazon and like live the lifestyle that I want just by plugging, playing.
Well, but yeah, so I'm talking about the Amazon side of things, but like in terms of with the original design thing, I think that most people, if they're going to create their own product, their own brand, they do have a rough idea that this is going to take time and whatever. But I think the cost is really the most prohibitive factor. So
that's where you always start from.
Like point out that
the budget, right?
Yeah.
Somebody has to be truthful and say, hey, look, this is how much money I have to work with, which is the best model for me. And sometimes, the answer is like, keep working your job and putting money aside.
Yeah.
When people say, I only have this much, I was like, that's not enough, like to survive the ebb and flow of how the business model works these days anymore. Unless
if you're still, let's say, if you're still working 9 to 5, but you want to launch your own brand and you're willing to do it like slowly, right? Like, let's say you spend $10,000 on the whole sourcing process. Like this is on the very low end.
Yeah. That is the low end nowadays compared to like the past, like what you were saying.
But that's for original, because original design, I mean, on average, is probably going to cost you $30,000 to launch your product before you start spending money on marketing.
Exactly.
But like I said, I have had a few clients here and there that have picked the right product that we could get a low MOQ on. There was a very minimum mold charge, maybe $2,000 or $1,000. Shipping, maybe $1,000, you know what I mean? And then the order itself was like 5-6K. So it does happen. It's very rare, but it does. How much money on the low end do you think somebody could put aside for the actual launching of the e-commerce store, doing a little bit of Facebook ads, things like that?
Wow. So we're just talking
if
about
you were like bare minimum, like I'm gonna launch small and then build it up over time because I don't have the budget, but I want to start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
First off, let me just say, like, in the way that I would do this all the time is think from the product that you're trying to get into and build a community around that. That's always my recommendation. So that doesn't take as much money as all this other stuff is, because you can actually sell other people's products or even use Amazon as the channel to sell those products. Does that make sense? It's like, because I come from the search engine background, so my experience in the old days was, doing affiliate marketing first. And, Amazon has a strong affiliate program, so this is the way I used to always test like products prior to actually getting into them, was like building, referring other people's products that I wanted to get into, seeing what the conversion rate is, and then transitioning into actually sourcing the product myself and then taking that traffic. Does that make
that makes sense.
So, my recommendation, if you had like a lower budget, would be to like learn like how to drive ads, or like trying to learn some organic traffic ways to attract the attention and build a community around it, showing that you're some kind of expert in this particular space. Yeah. So
that makes sense. So like, what about? I'm just trying to think of like a random product. Let's say if I was making a tie clip that's made from wood. You know what I mean?
Tie clip for what? Like
just tie clip, like something.
Fashion. So fashion and stuff
thing.
Like
so
that.
then I would maybe jump into forums, men's fashion forums.
Yeah,
and things
I mean,
like that.
Are you really into that? So then, if I was somebody who's really into men's fashion, I would be posting like just regular things that I would start like researching all the fashion blogs, all the fashion thing, and then build your own brand around it. Meaning you could be a critic or whatever. It's like, hey, look, the Golden Globes, the Oscars came up. Look at the guys, what they're wearing. This is what start pointing out stuff, and then become that reference, and then building
a reference, build a name for yourself.
Yeah,
that
exactly. And that doesn't cost you anything except for the time that you invest in putting. Yeah, you need to go into the video and all that kind of stuff. I mean, but if that's not you, then I also tell people to be very self-aware, as Gary Vee would say. It's like, know what your strengths are. If you're into video, then do video. If you're into audio, do audio. If you're into writing and photography, do it from that angle. Yeah. But find the angle that you are strong in, and then do that. And then that doesn't cost you anything except for your time and your passion for the industry. And then this way you can, easily gateway into that product, right? Because then you're not just limited to a wooden. Why are you selling this tie with a wooden clip? I mean, then you have your story, but then you can tell where you came from, and they can see this whole history of you actually being an expert.
You might be able to launch with a community behind you already backing this.
Exactly.
Which is funny because that's kind of like. I mean, that's basically the Enter China business model that they teach, is like how to build that community, like the original design.
That's the smart way, because then you're insulated from how does this product sell or whatever. You're just going by numbers that using the tools you had. I said that's not the full story a lot of times. Sometimes it's like, how did this guy, we see it all the time here in China, for example. It's like some product we don't know how in the world, but it's usually just because some KOL, very important person just goes behind it. Like I just saw this recent thing from somebody who had sold like coffee from Africa, and they use a KOL, and I was like, nothing special about the coffee, but the people, this KOL already had a lot of fans, so the fact that she shows up promoting it, they just sell out their stock like in a second, right? So you're like, how can you predict that unless we could, because we know the kind of reach and what kind of uptake this person has. So you got to think this way now. I think in the future, trying to, of course, you don't need to be a superstar, but just show that you're actually good at what you're, because it's just a stronger angle for you and for your brand, right?
For me, it's funny because I did it in the opposite way. I launched SFA, and then now I'm building the community. So over the past.
And there's nothing wrong with it because you're aware of it now, and you realize, and you see how it's.
Well, I also knew from the beginning, but I think the difference is like it's a service-based business. Like it's a little bit different because the service is like based off of expertise, and so you kind of have to spend a lot of time building up that expertise.
There's a certain level in each industry where the expertise is not enough anymore, right? Yeah. It's like everybody's about the same. So what's the distinguishing factor? It's just
the community.
Yeah, the connections you make, and just how much you're out there doing your thing, and people who relate to you more than somebody else, right? It's like, I don't like that guy. I mean, that's really, sometimes no one wants to say it out loud in this day and age of of social media, but inside they're already saying, I don't like that person, no matter what they do, even if their actual business ethic is strong, they just don't like the person in general. They're just not going to work with them. And you can't force somebody to change their mind about that. It's just what it is.
Building a community, all that stuff, that's great.
It is a lot of work. I understand when you hear it, but then I said, how much work it is to combat hijackers and all that other stuff. It's also, I know some guys spending 2-3 months of their lives on that particular issue when they should just be launching and building new products and brand and other stuff. So I think it depends on what you like to do. I mean, I know it takes a longer, but in the end, I still think, investing in this is a very high priority in anybody's business.
Okay, so 2 questions, and one is going to lead into the other. What is in a perfect scenario, not a large company, but an entrepreneur that's been saving up money for a while, what is a good budget for launching a brand? Just an average budget?
At least 3 to 5K, at least something. Yeah,
just for the marketing
knowing that they understand how to do stuff. If they don't know how to do anything, they don't know marketing, or they don't know how to even do an ad, it might be more just because of the process of learning it. Might have to.
Then that's if you're doing it yourself, not if you hire.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, if you hire somebody else to help you with that.
Yeah,
process.
Unless you're so skilled, then you can start with $500, but then even then it takes a lot of time, right? Yeah. It's because you need the actual understanding of the tactics and everything to even do that. But
so is 3 to 5K if you're doing it yourself? Or is it if you work with
that would be getting somebody involved a little bit and trying to run a few ads and really massaging the idea correctly. I think you can do that with somebody. But those people who would agree to do something like that might want a percentage of some of the profit in the beginning at least.
If they believe in that.
Yeah, they're going to say, hey, look, I think your idea is strong. You put some capital behind it, and I might share a little bit of the revenue. I mean, that's a smarter play. I mean, it's hard to tell because every industry it comes from what the industry is and what strengths you as a business owner brings to the table, right? It's like, hey, I'm an expert in swimming, whatever, and I can do, okay, so now you're going to launch this kind of product, then we can do something around that, But if you're like, hey, I don't have any interest in this thing, but I see it has a good opportunity, I said, well, you might not be that person, so you need to get somebody. So now there's more cost involved, right? Because you have to partner with somebody or share, or you know what I mean? So every situation, I believe, is different. So it's hard to give you a hard, simple number. But the internet businesses, you could be started. I mean, we're doing this in the context of imagine you had to start a franchise business. I mean, look how much money people have to invest in doing that. So when I mentioned something,
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're signing away a lot of credit lines and stuff like that and things. Versus here, I was like,
I think it's a time thing, right? A lot of people not a lot of people, but some people that have known me for a while, now Source Van Asia, we started in April, May. By the way, I'm going to talk about this my first year in China. I think we got our first payment May or June of 2015. So now it's 2020. We're going to be 5 years old soon. I think you start to transition less from being a startup around like, let's say, six years or so. But some people have been like, well, do you feel like the company's growth has been, as much as it could be, right? And my opinion is this: it's like, in terms of percentages, like if we look at the average year-over-year growth, we're in the top like 5-10% of companies that grow, and that's it. But in terms of the actual amount of money, it might not be as much as what you would expect.
Okay.
But that's because we never had any investment. You know what I mean? It's like if we had investment at the beginning, like if I had taken on investors and take on 50K, 100K, and then you're now putting money towards paid advertising and all that stuff,
Exactly.
then you can grow much faster.
Sure.
So that's kind of the trade-off, I think, is like
time and actually having the capability or the knowledge, because if you had the money,
if
right?
you do have the investment, then you can hire experts too.
Yeah.
Whereas like,
but do you know who to hire yet at that time,
true.
right? Like the beginning, you probably didn't know who to hire yet because you were still understanding the business model. So right.
But again, going back to the conversation that we were having inside, I'm more so in the perspective of like we're growing year over year. I'm living the lifestyle. I can afford to live the lifestyle that I want to live. And I have 100% control of my business.
Yeah.
So would I want to have made $10 million in 3 years? Of course. But if that had required me to give up 60% of the business, I don't know, man. And if that had required me to have investors that I have to answer to, that means I wouldn't be able to just like
leave whenever you want
for 3 months. You know what I mean? I don't have to like answer to people. Oh, well, why do you want to leave for 3? Because I want to leave for 3 months.
Yeah,
like I can manage the business from abroad, like that kind of stuff.
Now you're going to like vision and perspective and everything. So,
but I'm saying that to say that it's a choice of like you can still launch the brand. It's just going to take longer if you have less money.
Yeah, it's always the time versus how much money you have kind of thing, right? And even then, it's like that's why throwing numbers I think doesn't really help until you actually speak to the person and seeing what their actual experience is. And
I just try to give people an idea because I think that's always the question when somebody's watching a video like this. They're like, well, how much money do I have to have?
Don't believe anybody who tells you it costs like $100 and that's it. It's like
that's crazy.
That's just their lead in to let you sign up for more programs that they want to sell you. And to be honest, everything to learn to run and make money online can be found for free if you just do enough research. So if you have enough time, you just research online and you can get a good understanding of how to run something. It's nothing tricky until you get to a certain level of your business that you need to talk and consult with experts more.
I think for original design products or from the manufacturing side of things, I feel like I said, 10 grand would be on the lower end, but I feel like the average.
When you're dealing with physical products and actually talking about doing unique designs, there's a hard cost involved.
It's $20,000 is probably the average amount of
and
money.
when someone hears that, they go, "Oh, wait a minute, like I didn't know."
That's if you're doing it by yourself. That's not including my
so
services.
So imagine, so. Would I recommend somebody who doesn't really know the market to do that? No. I mean, that's like being irresponsible by saying, hey, go into any market just because the tool told you so and invest 20, 30K to test the market. I would be like, I wouldn't feel good inside to recommend anybody doing that. I would say, hey, take that 20, 30K if you have it and invest in the research by selling somebody else's product similar to yours. You'll get more experience doing that
There
yourself.
are also people that are just, I've had clients like this that are just really passionate about that specific product and they don't care.
Well,
if
they care when they all of a sudden don't make money.
Well, maybe like a lot of the people I'm thinking about, this is their second or third business.
Okay, yeah.
And this is like
Well, first off, they already have
a little bit of a passion for it. So
success.
they have their main income coming from that.
If they have success, and most likely they will have success again, right? You're talking the difference between someone who's like, hey, I have 2 or 3 Amazon businesses, they're doing well. What do you think of this idea? Well, I think you have a higher chance of success than some new person who say, hey, I heard about this opportunity called, Amazon. That's a totally different person, right? Like, like you were talking earlier, it's like somebody who has like a CV of 15 years of experience, like running an e-commerce business, is going to have way more success than some new person just learning about this business model to start, right? So. Again, talk to the person, see what their actual experience is, what they actually know how to do, and then the money starts becoming not the most important part. Because the money part, to be honest, you can find it from anybody, right? It's like, okay, if you can actually prove you can do the model, it's very easy to like borrow money from even Amazon themselves will give you money and credit, but I'm not saying that's the right way to go, but just like when people learn real estate investing, they can get hard money loans and all kinds of, the money part, there's always going to be money out there for you to get into. It's just a matter of, can you prove the concept or run the business, then somebody will back you. I mean, again, you're giving up control, but that's not the excuse that you should have, like, I can't afford it. It's like, it's about, can you actually figure out the model that will work and using your time and money that you do have effectively.
So that being said, that leads me to my next point, which is like, what do you think about crowdfunding in 2020?
Crowdfunding in general is great. I think that if you really have something very unique to offer, then I would totally get into the crowdfunding. Just be aware though that every successful crowdfunding campaign will also ignite the competitors right after that. So it's like, you have to be pretty strong in your future plan after that success, because just again, thinking about your brand ahead of time before even doing that. But using that platform, I've seen tons of guys using not just the popular ones like Kickstarter or anybody that's out there. They do it themselves using like their own tools, but they're crowdfunding through their list, again, because they built that brand.
Yeah.
It's very easy to, because you're using those platforms to get the traffic from those brands. Again, why you use Amazon is because they already have traffic for the products that you're going for. But when you start having control of your own traffic, you're not limited to those channels anymore. You can dictate anything that you want at that point, right? So my opinion is like, if you have some good concept that you don't have enough money to back, then I would use a crowdfunding platform to get it started, But you need to talk to experts for that though, because it really is down to the video and everything.
Well, me and Mike just did like, I don't know if this will come out before or after, but me and Mike were doing like a retrospective on the biggest manufacturing changes over the last decade. And like Mike had his crowdfunding campaigns like 6 years ago, and those are campaigns that were 6-figure campaigns on a shoestring budget, like $5 grand, $10 grand for the budget. And
because now you're not putting your own money to do the manufacturing,
but
right?
now it's like like this. You might make 6 figures, but you probably spent 6 figures to make the 6 figures. Now it's like
it's true.
It's like
because now the production value of the video has to go up. The competition again is higher. Again, the question was like, do I feel those platforms are good? Yeah, I mean, depends. Like again, your goal. Like, but see, I always come back to the same full circle. Back to if you have a brand, your own list, you can use that because it's very easy to promote that campaign now, because you say, hey, look, I got this campaign coming up. Shoot it to your list. They're gonna go support it, and then it just cycle virally grows from there. That's usually, there's like a break point in every kind of channel, like in crowdfunding and like YouTube, for example, or any of these channels. Like you hit this number, then boom, it's like you don't even know where the algorithm changes, and then you just start growing your subscriber base like crazy, and nothing to do with your effort. It's just there's a certain number that all of a sudden the algorithms recognize, and they just start pumping out your stuff. So it seems like it takes forever to get to the top of that mountain, but once you get to the top and it starts rolling down.
Oh, believe me, I'm there right now. Just like
you can feel it, right?
Every day I'm checking the subscribers. I'm like, okay, come on. Get me to 1,000.
you were so happy when you got 10 or 2 or 3 or 10.
I was happy when I got 100. I think the coolest thing for me was like it took us like 2 years to get 300 subscribers, and then we ended up getting 300 subscribers in like 3 months or 6 months or something like that. So like seeing that pace pick up is really
of course.
Cool.
And you're getting an inside look into Rico's viral growth now.
But I've talked about it before. I made videos about it.
Okay.
But I think once we get to 1,000, I feel like that's going to be a good. At least everybody that I know that's been on YouTube as well is like when they got to 1,000, not that the subscribers start jumping, it's more just the amount of interactions you get, the amount of views on average per video, and of course for us it's ultimately going to come down to inquiries as well. So like, we're at 1,000 subscribers. Like I've already noticed that our inquiries have jumped anyways, but I think 1,000 is like a really good number for that.
That's the goal, and once you hit that, then it's just going to grow.
Also, 1,000 plus some other criteria. That's when you start making on money from ads, which is not really my main business thing. But like it tells you what YouTube thinks of somebody with 1,000.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, is there anything else in terms of 2020 that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I think you talked about or we did talk about people trying to say, hey, I want to source from other countries. What is your opinion on that? I said, yeah, there are certain product lines that might be better suited and cheaper in those countries, but I still think that the level of production value and those things will never be matched for at least 3 to 5 years minimum before those countries will catch up to China's level.
I don't even
of,
think they're going to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be generous in giving them that thing, but when people ask me, I say, if that's your goal and trying to, hope that happens, I said you're still going to be waiting on it because
I think it's, and we talked about it, as I think it's a very product specific.
Correct. Huh?
If we're talking about products that are textile based and stuff that requires a lot of manual labor. Yeah, those products are going to start to shift outside. Well, they already started shifting outside of China, but I mean, anything else that requires expertise and machinery and things like that, these machines sometimes cost $500,000.
Yeah.
And there's already thousands of factories in China that have those machines.
Sure.
Just which other country can afford to invest billions of dollars into even just the machines alone?
Correct. So yeah, you're right. It's product specific. So, I wouldn't even think about it, to be honest. It's keep it in the back of your mind. And again, if that's your industry, then go full on there. But just that's shouldn't be your concern. It's just finding the right product and building the brand around the product that you want to promote is your key choice as a business owner. I mean, not thinking about those things. It's okay, what is the product? What does my audience want? And then making for them. That's it.
Well, so I have another question going off of that, going outside of China. So then the other part that we were talking about is it depends on what is the point of you going outside of China? Is it because you want to get cheaper prices, or is it a political protest?
Yeah,
if it's a political protesting, then unfortunately, most of the factories that are outside of China are still owned by Chinese people.
I mean, those same business owners have the same idea, so they're relocating their factories over there, and you're still buying from a Chinese-owned company in another country. That's it.
Yeah.
So if your stance is to I don't want to support this country, then it's not going to happen because you're
going to struggle to find.
Yeah, you're going to struggle and probably not going to get to the quality you want anyway. So it's you might as well just not do that. Sorry, but that's what's going to happen.
It's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I feel like that's everything from me. I don't know if I have anything else that I want to ask.
I think that, everyone should just, like I said, just focus on figuring out how to build your brand strongly. Learn all these other ways to grow your audience. Using the traditional old school models like email, and actually building up things the right way. And then you'll insulate yourself from any kind of changes that happen, regardless of what comes up in the next 10 years.
What are you doing for 2020 from closing out that podcast?
Just building up more into I think we mentioned this before, but I believe more in membership models, for example. It's building to the point where you can actually offer, taking the best of everything we talked about, but then having your community pay you on a monthly basis and deciding the products they want to produce is the ultimate goal. I'm trying to make all my businesses transition to more of that kind of model, because then it allows you to have things crowdfunded by your own membership and then build things that they are happy about. So they never receive their product and go, I didn't want this. It's most of you guys voted on this. So everyone's going to be happy, and then it just starts growing your community even more, because then you realize you're building unique products around them. Where can you get that? Off the shelf, right?
Nice.
All these things are more built around them, and that's,
Yeah, I think that's what, I'm pretty sure they're still doing it that way. Vincero's business model was that, and they started off very broad, but they've narrowed down the niche. But it's basically men's accessories.
Okay.
So they would have a watch, a belt, and something else, and then they would have their community vote on which one they liked the most. And then, obviously, when they launched their crowdfunding campaign, the first people to buy the product were the people from the community.
Because they already gave them the idea that it's probably something that will succeed in the first place.
Yeah.
So see, the minimum you're going to do is what your goal was. Anything on top of that is going to be icing on the cake, right? It's exactly. Hey, there you go. Yeah. So on that note, that's what I think everybody should, I believe everybody should try to do that at least, or look at that kind of model. So if they want to learn more, they know where to reach me.
All right. All right, guys. So that's it. If you like this kind of content, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
This webinar is a first for SFA. It's going to be one of the first webinars that we do that's not 100% sourcing focused, although we will be talking about manufacturing. The focus of the topic is going to be how to pre-launch your product and get hundreds, if not thousands, of sales before you even start manufacturing. So my co-host of this webinar is Luke Francis, and if you're familiar with my Enter China days, you would have seen me in some videos with him. He basically helps e-commerce businesses gain an audience, validate their product, and get pre-sales through crowdfunding before you start manufacturing your product, which minimizes your risk. So the dates of the webinar will be in the link in the description below and somewhere below me on the screen. And on top of that, I'm going to pass it on to Luke because he's got a special gift for only the people that attend the webinar live. So this is the first webinar that we're doing in 2020. We're trying to do it big. I hope to see you there. Cheers.
Thanks, Rico, for that introduction. I'm super excited to present this webinar to you on the 5 steps to get your customers to pay for your first production order. You don't even have to have inventory, and you don't even have to put a down payment down for the first order. Your customers are going to cover all that for you, and I'm going to show you how to make that happen through strong customer connection, which you can then leverage into a long-lasting and meaningful brand, not just a fly-by-night, get-rich-quick money grab. And if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely sign up. And as a bonus for those that do sign up, I'm gonna hand out a free video that lays out the framework and the foundation for building this connection with your customers. And so everybody that signs up, you get that free video, and I'll deliver that to you. So look in your inbox when you sign up, you'll get the email from me and you can watch that video right away. So look forward to seeing you on the webinar.